Well, folks, Caroline Leavitt has came out and admitted to the second boat strike, the one that Pete Hegseth first called fake news, and the one that Donald Trump tried to act like he didn't know nothing about and then said that he wouldn't have wanted. So now they're going to have to saddle up because they've admitted it. And when this thing picks up speed, they're going to be trying to figure out how to pass the blame and pass the buck. And I'm sure at some point they'll try to blame this one on Joe Biden, but I don't think that one's going to stick. We're going to start off this video by showing the clip of Caroline just admitting it out loud.
Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Excuse me. Regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, that reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd. The secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Gabe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over.
Okay, so where is the evidence to back up what she's saying? Where is the evidence that they are bringing drugs? It's one thing to just say, hey, they're bringing drugs, and there's another thing to bring the evidence, which is something that Trump nor Hegseth has ever shown anybody, and somehow we're just supposed to take their word for it. But I tell you what's happening right before our eyes as this all unfolds. They're turning Mark Kelly into a superstar because Mark Kelly is the real deal. He's not some fake Fox News host. He is the real deal who's been there. He's done that. He knows what he's talking about. And he points out in this next clip how that Donald Trump has gone too far.
The president has gone too far. Everybody needs to wake up. The occupant of the Oval Office is ignorant to the Constitution and has no regard for the rule of law. Trying to silence me, in proposing to court-martial me, in threatening to kill me for fighting back when our democracy demands that we must fight back. President Trump has crossed the line. And this time, it's not going to work. I will not be intimidated by this president. I am not going to be silenced by this president or the people around him, because I've given too much in service to this country to back down to this guy.
And you know what, folks? None of us can be intimidated by Donald Trump or this regime. We have to continue to stand up and call it out, and we have to continue to stand up for people like Mark Kelly, who did not just tell people to randomly disobey the commander-in-chief. That's not what he did. He said to them to not follow illegal orders. And now here we are watching all of this unfold. It's one of the craziest times to be alive. It truly is. But Mark Kelly, like I said earlier, he's the real deal. He's been there. He's done that. And when it was Donald Trump's turn to go there and do that, he didn't. And I love the receipts that Mark Kelly brings in this next clip.
In 1991, when Donald Trump was driving the Taj Mahal casino into bankruptcy, I was getting shot at over Iraq and Kuwait. In 2001, after Donald Trump said that the collapse of the Twin Towers meant he now owned the tallest skyscraper in Manhattan, I was carrying flags honoring 9/11 victims into space on a rocket ship. In 2003, when Donald Trump was writing birthday greetings to the monster Jeffrey Epstein, I was the first on the scene to recover the bodies of my fellow astronauts who died when Space Shuttle Columbia exploded during re-entry. In 2011, when Trump was hosting a reality show and peddling conspiracy theories against President Barack Obama, I was sitting next to my wife's hospital bed as she recovered from a gunshot wound to the head. My point is this: I've been through a lot worse in service to my country. The president and Pete Hegseth are not going to silence me.
So I'm going to tell you how I used to go about buying furniture, and it was super frustrating. I would see a couch or a chair that I really wanted, and it would be way out of my price range. Then I would wait to see when it went on sale, and by the time I made it down to the furniture store, they were already sold out. So I always felt like I was chasing my tail. Well, I don't do that now that I use dupe.com. And no, these are not sketchy knockoffs. You know, a lot of these products that you see online are mass-produced, and then brands will just take and slap another label on it and jack up the price, and you end up paying for a name. So that $5,000 sofa you've been wanting, Dupe will help you find it for a fraction of the cost. This holiday season, Dupe is giving away 1 million Dupe points, and you can turn those points straight into gift cards. Here's how it works. You earn Dupe points just by shopping with Dupe. No payment, no catch. Just search the products you want, save money, and rack up points. Want even more? Share Dupe with your friends. They save, you earn extra points, and that means more gift cards for the both of you. And here's the kicker. For a limited time, the first 10,000 people who go to dupe.com/Brando will get 500 Dupe points instantly. Redeemable for gift cards, no catch. But spots are limited, so don't wait. That's dupe.com/Brando for 500 free Dupe points today. Use your Dupe points and gift cards to make the most of your holiday shopping. Go to dupe.com/Brando. You know, folks, I got to be honest. I got chills when I watched that clip because Donald Trump is such a phony. He always has been and always will be, but yet he has duped so many people into this country into thinking that he's some sort of tough guy, that he's some sort of person that we should all look up to, and he's not. He's everything that we should teach our children not to be. Donald Trump is everything that our grandparents taught us not to be. And it's so disgraceful to me that our country is so fucked up that we would see people get solidly behind someone like a Donald Trump and then turn and find ways to shit on a true American hero like Mark Kelly, who has been through so much. And every time Donald Trump has been in any situation, it's always been, how can I find a way to brag about my wealth? How can I find a way to brag about my success? He has never been there. He's never done that. And he's never lived the basic day-to-day lives that you and I have lived. He's never took a sick neighbor to the doctor. He's never done a good deed for a neighbor down the street. He's never took care of his parents. He's never fed his children or changed a diaper or even prepared his own fucking food. The guy has never done nothing. And so as I'm sitting there watching that clip, I'm like, here is a guy who has lived and seen it all. And there are people out there who will write him off like he's some kind of traitor and turn and look up to one of the biggest traitors that ever lived. But getting back to this whole boat story, what we're going to end up seeing is everybody pass the buck in this regime. Because that's what they're doing. Donald Trump is already setting himself up to throw Hegseth under the bus. And Hegseth is setting himself up to throw the admiral under the bus. And I want to take a look here at what Chris Murphy pointed out about that.
So Secretary Hegseth has just posted something that I wanted to ask you about. He said, let's make one thing crystal clear. Admiral Mitch Bradley is an American hero, a true professional, and has my 100% support. I stand by him in the combat decisions he has made on the September 2nd mission and all others since. America is fortunate to have such men protecting us. When this Department of War says we have the back of our warriors, we mean it. Okay, let me just translate this into he's pinning this on Bradley. Okay, he's saying that's what that's about, right? I mean, where do you see this headed?
He is passing the buck. He sort of sees the freight train that is coming, right? That both Republicans and Democrats are coming to the conclusion that this was an illegal, wildly immoral act, and he is shifting the blame. It's the opposite of the buck stops here. And boy, it's a chilling signal to everyone in the chain of command that the Secretary of Defense does not have your back. Now, in this case, it seems likely that he actually did give the order. that he gave the order to kill everyone on that boat, and that those in the chain of command were simply following his orders. But he is basically telling everyone, all of his generals, all of the professional staff of the Department of Defense, that I'm going to save myself if things get tough. And that's just devastating for American national security.
And folks, that is exactly what is happening right here. Pete Hegseth is already setting himself up to put the blame on the admiral. And then Donald Trump is setting himself up to put the blame on Pete Hegseth. But we have to put the blame right squarely where it belongs, and that's on the commander-in-chief. I am so tired of seeing Donald Trump weasel out of every one of these things. This is one of the craziest stories that I've ever covered, and I'm not trying to bring down the room, but whenever I cover a story like this, the one thing that goes through my mind is, well, is anyone going to step forward and say we've had enough? And I've said all along, it's going to come down to, will Republicans stand up and fight back? And some are. Some are going to be investigating this, and I'm glad to see it. But a lot of them are tucking their tail between their legs, and they're resigning, and they're saying they're not going to run for re-election because they see the writing on the wall. And instead of stand up to Donald Trump and call out his bullshit, they're going to run scared. But I would hate to be a Republican these days and have to keep going to bat for Donald Trump and making excuses. And I would hate to be in the military and be in a situation where I was given an unlawful order by a dangerous regime who I knew would throw me under the bus in the end. And then you've got people within the American public who would be okay with it. There are people out there that if Hegseth blamed it on the admiral and the admiral took the fall, people would be fine with it. And if Trump blamed it on Pete Hegseth, and even if Trump called Hegseth a Biden appointee, they would be okay with it. It's Donald Trump they don't want to see brought down. But it's going to have to be Republicans step up and take him down. It's their problem. They created it. They even said back then that one day, Rubio said things like this, that one day we will have to answer for this, and we'll deserve what we get. Well, we're at that point. Will they ever stand up? Will they ever speak out? Or will they just keep eating a plate of shit from this dude?